I'm Zaira Sofea, Binti Warith, age 12, and I'm a proud student of a renowned school in Malacca. Apart from my daily routines, I'm very much into drawing and reading, where indulgence have enabled me to travel the world in my private time and space. The reward, the unspeakable joy and maximum satisfaction that one draws from reading is priceless. Reading books is like fuel for my brain, boosters for my thoughts, and a window to limitless imagination. Having said that, allow me to share with you today into some insights in this evergreen classic children's novel, Matilda, by author Roald Dahl, published in 1988 by Jonathan Cape, and soon adapted into a movie in 1996. Whenever the name Roald Dahl is mentioned, the first thing that springs to mind are the enormously popular books that he contributed to children's literature. It is difficult to think of that particular genre without his name being included, and not without reason. The reason why his books have been so effective is that he once said that if an adult wanted to remember what it was like to live in a child's world again, all they had to do was to get down on their hands and knees for a week and look above at adults constantly towering above you and telling you what to do. It was with this perspective in mind that he wrote most of his books, and Matilda is no exception. First of all, a little bit of background to our esteemed author. Roald Dahl was born in 1916 in Wales, and before he was a writer, he was working at the Shell Petroleum Company before being enlisted as a fighter pilot. After retirement, he began to pen down his books, for which he is so well known. It is amusing to note that early in his school years, he was never much of a writer, with one of his English teachers writing in a school report saying, "I have never met anybody who so persistently writes words meaning the exact opposite of what it is." Matilda was first published in 1988, and it is one of his few books that underwent extensive rewrites to become the book we all know today. The tableau is a familiar one. Matilda, who is exceptionally bright and intelligent, is born to parents who from the very first moment do little to encourage their daughter's talent and are as superficial as they get. They do provide for her, but only in the physical sense of the word, and they constantly belittle her and downplay her intelligence. And, even worse, refuse to acknowledge or even see it. Along the way, as Matilda goes to school, she soon runs into our other main characters, Miss Trunchbull and Miss Honey, who are as equally important to the plot. And very soon she finds herself in a possession of a strange and mysterious ability that will be crucial to the climax of the story. The ability of a story to capture its readers lies first and foremost in its characters, and Mr. Dahl imbues them with characteristics that are unforgettable. His characters are extremes, one may argue, but it is worth noting that his characters are not so much extremes as they are vehicles he uses to make his points. From the irascible Miss Trunchbull, the terrible headmistress who embodies what it really means to be at the mercy of an all-powerful adult, to Miss Honey, the teacher whom we all wish we had, to gently guide us and bring out the best in us, to Matilda's parents, who are as neglectful and dismissive as well as amusing. It is worth noting that Matilda has been a frequent subject of controversy, as there are instances where it has been deemed to encourage bad behavior, but it is more complicated than that. That is why we cheer for her when she scores against her parents and the formidable Miss Trunchbull, because we all share in the feeling of triumph of good over evil. Through the story alone, Mr. Doll has appealed to our sense of right and wrong, and of justice and truth, and standing up for what is right. Speaking of the story, I must confess that Mr. Doll has created a truly complex plot, disguised as simplicity. In the beginning, it appears to be just Matilda dealing with her nasty and vile parents. And by the middle, the plot has thickened to involve both Miss Honey and Miss Trunchbull, with a conscious sense that Mr. Doll is echoing Matilda's story with Miss Honey's. And by the end, it comes to a satisfying, exciting conclusion, speckled with a little bit of nostalgia, as both Miss Honey and Matilda maintains a measure of peace in the aftermath. But what I love most about Matilda is that there isn't a single preachy tone in the story that he spins. Yet there they all are. Upon the initial reading, we laugh at the hilarious escapades that Matilda gets up to against her parents. But upon further rereadings, we note that themes of negligence and abandonment frequently grace through the pages. As the complete and utter helplessness a child feels, we see what it is like to always be dismissed and trodden upon just because of the assumption that because one is a child, one's feelings and thoughts are not relevant. At heart, it really is a story about the detrimental effects that an adult's behavior may have upon a child, and on the other side, the nurturing effect of being understood and helped, as well as the determination to avoid the repetition of the traumatic event. It is also interesting that Mr. Doll himself notes at the beginning of the book that going down the opposite path, coddling children to the point where mediocrity for excellence is just as problematic. I could continue waxing rhapsodic about this book, but unfortunately, time does not permit. So let me just sum my review up by saying this. Matilda is a stunning example of children's literature done right, for the reasons I have enumerated above, and I would choose no other author to introduce my own peers to if they wish to explore this genre. It is a book that is truly one of its kind and in a class of its own. Thank you. Oh yes! You can pick it up at any walk-in bookstore or via Shopee for only 29 Malaysian ringgit. It is easy to read and has stunning illustrations, all in 200 odd pages. You'll not regret on this truly piece of treasure, I promise. Remember, the title is Matilda, not Zaira. Bye!